She was the ruthless CEO who destroyed his company. He was the single father left with nothing. When fate brought them together at a bar, neither recognized the other. Now she's falling for the man whose life she ruined, and he's about to discover her devastating secret. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain hammered against the windows of Murphy's bar as Marcus wiped down the counter for the third time that evening. His hands moved mechanically, but his mind was elsewhere, on the overdue bills stacked on his kitchen table, on his 7-year-old daughter Emma's school fees, and on the part-time job he'd just lost that morning. "Another rough day?" asked Tom, the bartender, noticing Marcus's distant expression. Marcus managed a tired smile. "Just thinking about Emma. She asked me today why other kids have both parents at school events and I." He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. The bell above the door chimed and both men looked up. A woman in an expensive black coat entered, her heels clicking against the wooden floor. She moved with the confidence of someone used to commanding rooms, but there was something fragile in her eyes, a loneliness that Marcus recognized all too well. She chose a seat at the far end of the bar, away from the few other customers. When Tom approached her, she ordered a whiskey neat and stared at it without drinking. Marcus couldn't help but notice her. Not because of her obvious wealth or striking appearance, but because of the way she sat, like someone carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. It reminded him of how he felt most nights after Emma went to bed. "Excuse me," she said suddenly, looking at Marcus. "I couldn't help but overhear. You mentioned your daughter." Marcus tensed. He wasn't used to strangers taking interest in his personal life. "Yes, Emma. She's 7. I'm sorry if I'm being intrusive. I'm Victoria." She extended her hand. I remember what it was like, wondering why I only had one parent." There was genuine warmth in her voice, but Marcus remained cautious. "Marcus, and you don't need to apologize. It's been a long day." Victoria nodded, understanding. "Would you like to talk about it? Sometimes it helps to share with someone who understands." Marcus studied her face. Behind the perfectly applied makeup and professional demeanor, he saw genuine kindness. Something about her made him want to trust her, despite his better judgment. "I lost my job today," he found himself saying. "And I don't know how I'm going to tell Emma. She's already sacrificed so much." Victoria's expression softened. "What kind of work do you do?" "Construction." "Well, did construction. The company downsized." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Funny thing is, I have a degree in engineering. But after Emma's mom left, I needed something immediate, something that would pay the bills while I could still pick her up from school." "Emma's mother left?" Victoria's voice was gentle, non-judgmental. 3 years ago. Said she wasn't ready for the responsibility." Marcus stared into his beer. "Emma still asks about her sometimes. I don't know what to tell her." Victoria was quiet for a moment, then said, "My father left when I was 8. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I used to blame myself, thinking I wasn't good enough for him to stay." Marcus looked up, surprised by her openness. "I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong. But it also made me careful about letting people close." She took a sip of her whiskey. "What I'm trying to say is, Emma is lucky to have you. Not every child gets a parent who sacrifices everything for them." Their conversation was interrupted by Marcus's phone ringing. Emma's face lit up the screen. "Hi, sweetheart," Marcus answered, his voice immediately brightening. "Daddy? Mrs. Johnson helped me with my math homework, and I got all the answers right. When are you coming home?" Marcus glanced at the clock. He'd been at the bar longer than intended. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, princess. Did you eat the dinner I left for you?" "Yes, but I saved you some because I know you get hungry when you're sad." Marcus's heart clenched. Even at 7, Emma was taking care of him. "I love you, sweetheart." "I love you too, Daddy. Drive safe." When Marcus hung up, he found Victoria watching him with a strange expression. "She sounds wonderful," Victoria said softly. "She is. She's everything to me." Marcus stood up, pulling out his wallet. "I should get going." "Wait," Victoria said, then seemed to hesitate. Could I buy you dinner? Both of you? I know it might sound strange, but I haven't had a real conversation with someone in months, and I'd love to meet Emma." Marcus frowned. "I don't even know you." "You're right. I'm sorry. Victoria looked down at her hands. "I spend most of my time in boardrooms with people who only care about profit margins. Tonight, talking to you, it reminded me that there are still good people in the world." Something in her voice made Marcus pause. What do you do for work? I run a company. Sterling Industries. Marcus's eyes widened. Sterling Industries was one of the largest construction firms in the state. You're Victoria Sterling? Victoria nodded, looking uncomfortable. I suppose my reputation precedes me. It did. Marcus had heard stories about the ice-cold CEO who'd built her empire by crushing competitors and firing employees without a second thought. But the woman sitting across from him seemed nothing like those stories. I should really go, Marcus said, more confused than ever. Of course. I understand. Victoria pulled out a business card. But if you ever need anything, I mean it. Sometimes life gives us unexpected chances to help each other. Marcus took the card, studying it. Why would you want to help me? Victoria's smile was sad. Because 3 years ago I was in a similar position. I was a single mother, struggling to make ends meet. Someone helped me when I needed it most. I've never forgotten that kindness. You have a child? Had. Victoria's voice broke slightly. I lost my son in a car accident 2 years ago. He was 5. Marcus felt his heart stop. Victoria, I'm so sorry. After that, I threw myself into work. It was easier than dealing with the pain. But tonight, hearing about Emma, seeing how much you love her. Victoria wiped away a tear. It reminded me of what really matters. Marcus sat back down. I can't imagine what you've been through. Some days are harder than others. But talking to you tonight, it's the first time in months that I've felt human again. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, two broken people who had found an unexpected connection. Emma loves pizza, Marcus said finally. If you're serious about dinner, there's a place called Tony's that she adores. Victoria's face lit up. I'd love that. The next evening, Marcus found himself nervously adjusting his shirt as he waited outside Tony's Pizza with Emma. He'd spent the day questioning his decision to agree to dinner with Victoria Sterling, but Emma's excitement had kept him from backing out. Is she really a CO daddy? Emma asked, practically bouncing with anticipation. Yes, she is. But remember what I told you about being polite, okay? I remember. And I brushed my teeth extra good in case she wants to check. Marcus smiled despite his nerves. Emma had that effect on him. She could make even the most stressful situations feel manageable. A sleek black car pulled up and Victoria stepped out. She looked different from the night before, less formal, more approachable. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Emma? Victoria knelt down to the little girl's eye level. I'm Victoria. Your daddy told me so much about you. Emma studied Victoria with the serious expression she reserved for important introductions. Are you really a CEO? I am. Do you know what that means? It means you're the boss of lots of people. Victoria laughed. That's exactly right. But tonight I'm just Victoria, and I'm very happy to meet you. Emma grinned. Daddy says you like pizza. I know all the best kinds. As they settled into a booth at Tony's, Marcus watched Victoria interact with his daughter. She listened intently to Emma's stories about school, her best friend Sarah, and her collection of stuffed animals. There was no condescension in her manner, no fake interest. She genuinely seemed to enjoy Emma's company. I have a question, Emma said seriously between bites of her cheese pizza. Why don't you have kids? Marcus nearly choked on his drink. Emma, that's not appropriate. It's okay, Victoria said gently. I did have a little boy once. His name was James and he was about your age. Where is he now? Victoria's eyes filled with tears, but she kept her voice steady. He's in heaven now. He got very sick and the doctors couldn't make him better. Emma's expression grew solemn. I'm sorry. That must make you very sad. It does. But do you know what makes me feel better? Emma shook her head. Meeting wonderful kids like you. It reminds me of how special James was, and how much joy children bring to the world. Emma reached across the table and patted Victoria's hand. I bet James was really lucky to have you as his mommy. Victoria had to excuse herself to the bathroom, and Marcus could see her struggling not to cry. Is she okay, Daddy? Emma asked. She's okay, sweetheart. She's just sad because she misses her little boy. Like how you get sad when you miss Mommy? Marcus paused. He'd never told Emma that he missed her mother. How did you know that? Sometimes I hear you crying at night. And you get that same look she has. Marcus pulled Emma closer. I'm sorry you heard that, princess. It's okay. Everyone gets sad sometimes. Maybe we can help Victoria feel better like how she's helping us feel better. What do you mean? Well, she bought us dinner and she's really nice and she makes you smile more than usual. Marcus realized Emma was right. For the first time in months he felt genuinely happy. When Victoria returned, her composure restored, Emma had a proposal. "Victoria, would you like to come to my school play next week? I'm playing a sunflower and I have a really important solo." Victoria glanced at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "I would love to if it's okay with your daddy." "It's more than okay," Marcus said. Emma's been practicing her lines for weeks. As they finished dinner, Marcus found himself relaxing completely. Victoria wasn't the cold businesswoman he'd expected. She was warm, funny, and genuinely interested in their lives. She asked about his engineering background and seemed impressed by his knowledge. "You know," Victoria said as they walked back to their cars, "Sterling Industries is always looking for qualified engineers, especially ones with construction experience." Marcus stopped walking. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity. Would you be interested in discussing it?" Marcus looked at Emma, who was skipping ahead, humming her sunflower song. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. I'll have my assistant call you tomorrow with the details." As Victoria drove away, Emma tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, I really like her." "I like her too, sweetheart. Do you think she'll become our friend?" Marcus watched Victoria's taillights disappear into the night. "I hope so, Emma. I really hope so." 3 weeks later, Marcus was settling into his new office at Sterling Industries, still amazed by the turn his life had taken. Victoria had offered him a position as a project manager, with a salary that was nearly double what he'd been making in construction. For the first time in years, he could afford to give Emma the life she deserved. But more than the job, it was Victoria's friendship that had transformed their lives. She'd attended Emma's school play, cheering louder than anyone else when Emma delivered her sunflower solo. She'd helped with homework, taken them to the zoo, and slowly become a part of their daily routine. Marcus was reviewing blueprints when his assistant knocked on his door. "Mr. Thompson? There's a man here to see you. Says it's urgent." A tall, well-dressed man entered, introducing himself as Detective Reynolds. Marcus's blood ran cold. "Mr. Thompson, I need to ask you some questions about Victoria Sterling." "What kind of questions?" "We're investigating some irregularities in her business practices. Financial improprieties, bid rigging, that sort of thing." Marcus frowned. "I don't know anything about that." "She hired you recently, didn't she? After meeting you at a bar?" "Yes, but don't you find it strange that the CEO of a major corporation would personally hire someone she met randomly?" Marcus's mind raced. When put that way, it did seem odd. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that Victoria Sterling isn't who she appears to be. She's been using her company to destroy smaller competitors, including the construction company you used to work for." Marcus felt the world tilt. "That's impossible." Detective Reynolds placed a folder on Marcus's desk. "Sterling Industries submitted a bid for the Morrison project, the same project your old company was working on. But here's the interesting part. They submitted their bid with inside information that only someone from your company could have provided." Marcus opened the folder, his hands shaking. Inside were documents showing that Sterling Industries had indeed submitted a bid for the Morrison project, the project that had cost Marcus his job when the company lost the contract. "Furthermore," Detective Reynolds continued, "we have evidence that Sterling Industries has been systematically targeting small construction firms, gathering inside information to undercut their bids. But Victoria couldn't have known about my company before she met me. Couldn't she? Tell me, Mr. Thompson, what did you talk about that first night? Did you mention where you worked?" Marcus tried to remember. The conversation was a blur of emotion and whiskey, but he vaguely recalled mentioning his company's name. "We believe Victoria Sterling targeted you specifically. She knew your company was vulnerable, and she used your relationship to gather information." "No," Marcus said firmly. "You're wrong. Victoria isn't like that." "Then how do you explain this?" Detective Reynolds showed Marcus a photograph, Victoria entering the offices of Morrison Construction, the company that had taken over the project from Marcus's former employer. "This was taken 2 days before she met you at the bar. She was there negotiating the final details of the contract that put your company out of business." Marcus stared at the photo, his world crumbling. That's not possible." "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, but it appears you've been manipulated. Victoria Sterling is being investigated for corporate espionage, among other things. We need to know what information you might have inadvertently provided her." After the detective left, Marcus sat in his office, staring at the documents spread across his desk. Everything he'd believed about his relationship with Victoria was a lie. She hadn't met him by chance, she targeted him deliberately. His phone rang. Emma School. Mr. Thompson? This is Principal Martinez. Emma's not feeling well and she's asking for you. Marcus drove to Emma's school in a daze. When he arrived, he found his daughter in the nurse's office, pale and tearful. Daddy, my tummy hurts, Emma said, reaching for him. As Marcus held his daughter, he realized how much their lives had changed because of Victoria. Emma had grown attached to her, talking about her constantly, even calling her almost mommy, when she thought Marcus wasn't listening. How was he going to explain that Victoria had been using them all along? That evening, Marcus paced his living room while Emma slept, rehearsing what he would say to Victoria. She was supposed to come over for dinner, as she had every Friday for the past month. It had become their tradition. Victoria would bring dessert, Marcus would cook, and Emma would entertain them with stories from school. But tonight would be different. When Victoria arrived, she was carrying Emma's favorite chocolate cake and wearing the bright smile that had become so familiar. "Where's my favorite sunflower?" Victoria asked, looking around for Emma. "She's sleeping. She wasn't feeling well today." Victoria's expression immediately turned to concern. "Is she okay? Should I call Dr. Patterson?" The fact that Victoria knew Emma's doctor's name made Marcus's heart ache. For a moment he almost believed the detective was wrong. "Victoria, we need to talk." Something in his tone made her pause. "What's wrong?" Marcus placed the folder of documents on the coffee table. "A detective came to see me today. Detective Reynolds. He had some interesting things to tell me about Sterling Industries." Victoria's face went pale. "Marcus, I can explain." "Can you? Can you explain why you were at Morrison Construction 2 days before you met me? Can you explain why Sterling Industries bid on the same project that cost me my job?" Victoria sank into a chair, her hands shaking. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is. Tell me you didn't target me specifically. Tell me you didn't use me to gather information about my company." "I didn't." Victoria stood up, tears in her eyes. "Marcus, you have to believe me. Yes, I was involved in the Morrison project, but I didn't know about your company until after we met." "Then why were you at Morrison Construction?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was trying to stop the acquisition." "What?" "Sterling Industries wasn't behind the Morrison project. My board of directors was, without my knowledge. When I found out, I tried to stop it, but it was too late. The contracts were already signed." Marcus stared at her. "You expect me to believe that? I know how it looks, but Marcus, I would never hurt you or Emma. When I met you that night, I was at the bar because I'd just come from Morrison Construction. I'd been trying to convince them to reverse the decision, to find another way. And you just happened to meet me by coincidence?" "Yes. I was drowning my sorrows after failing to save your company and countless others. Meeting you was the first genuine thing that had happened to me in years." Marcus wanted to believe her, but the evidence was overwhelming. "The detective said you've been using Sterling Industries to destroy smaller companies." Victoria's face crumpled. "That's what my board wants me to do. They've been pushing aggressive acquisition strategies, and I've been fighting them every step of the way. But I own only 40% of the company, Marcus. I can't make unilateral decisions." "So you're saying you're not in control of your own company?" "I'm saying that after James died, I stopped paying attention to the business side of things. I let the board make decisions while I grieved. By the time I realized what was happening, they'd already implemented strategies that went against everything I believed in." Marcus felt a flicker of doubt. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I was ashamed. I built Sterling Industries to be different, to be better. But I let my grief consume me, and the company became something I never intended. And now I'm trying to fix it. I've been working with lawyers to restructure the board to regain control. But it's a slow process." Marcus looked at the documents again. "Detective Reynolds said you were being investigated for corporate espionage. The investigation is part of the board's attempt to remove me. They're trying to make me look like the villain while they continue their aggressive tactics." "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Victoria wiped her tears. "Because I love you. Both of you. And I would never do anything to hurt the people I love." The words hung in the air between them. It was the first time either of them had said love out loud. "Victoria, I know you don't believe me right now and I understand why. But please give me a chance to prove it to you. Let me show you that everything I've told you is true." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "How?" "Come to the board meeting tomorrow. See for yourself what I'm up against. And then decide whether you believe me or not." The next morning, Marcus sat in the back of Sterling Industries' boardroom, watching Victoria face off against her board of directors. What he witnessed shocked him. "The Morrison project was a success," said Richard Hayes, the board chairman. "We acquired 3 smaller companies at a fraction of their worth, and we're positioned to dominate the regional market." "At what cost?" Victoria's voice was steady but angry. "We destroyed the livelihoods of hundreds of employees. We broke up companies that had been family-owned for generations." "That's business, Victoria. Your sentimental attachment to these companies is exactly why the board voted to reduce your operational authority." Marcus watched Victoria's face as she absorbed this information. She looked genuinely devastated. "I built this company to lift others up, not tear them down," Victoria said. "My father would be ashamed of what we've become." "Your father is dead, Victoria. And so is your son. It's time to stop letting your personal grief interfere with business decisions." The casual cruelty of the statement made Marcus's blood boil. He could see Victoria flinch as if she'd been physically struck. "That's enough," Marcus said, standing up. Every face in the room turned to him. "I'm Marcus Thompson, and I was one of the people affected by your Morrison project." Richard Hayes frowned. "I don't know who you are or why you're here, but this is a private meeting. I'm here because Detective Reynolds asked me to gather information about Sterling Industries' business practices. And because I wanted to see for myself whether Victoria Sterling was the villain you've made her out to be." Victoria looked at Marcus with surprise and hope. "What I see," Marcus continued, "is a board of directors who've been operating behind their CEO's back, making decisions that go against her wishes and then blaming her for the consequences." "You don't understand the complexities of business," Hayes said dismissively. "I understand enough. I understand that you've been using Victoria's grief to manipulate her, pushing through aggressive strategies while she was vulnerable." Marcus pulled out his phone. "I also understand that this entire meeting has been recorded, and that Detective Reynolds is very interested in hearing about a board of directors who've been operating without proper oversight." The room fell silent. "You've been investigating Victoria for corporate espionage," Marcus said to Hayes, "when you've been the ones engaging in illegal business practices. Victoria hired me because she believed I deserved a second chance, not because she was gathering information." Hayes's face had gone red. "You can't prove any of this." "Actually, I can." Victoria stood up, her composure restored. "I've been working with federal investigators for the past month, documenting every illegal decision this board has made. Marcus, thank you for recording this meeting. It's exactly the evidence we needed." Marcus realized that Victoria had planned this confrontation, using him as a witness to expose the board's corruption. "You see," Victoria continued, "I've been fighting to save this company from the inside. But I needed proof of the board's willingness to operate illegally. Your casual admission of using manipulative tactics to acquire companies, combined with your threats against my authority, constitute corporate malfeasance." Hayes and the other board members began to shift uncomfortably. "As of this moment," Victoria said, "I'm calling for a vote of no confidence in this board. I have the support of the shareholders, the federal investigators, and the documented evidence of your illegal activities." Marcus watched in amazement as Victoria transformed from a grieving mother into a powerful CEO. She'd been playing a long game, gathering evidence while appearing vulnerable. "The Morrison project and all similar acquisitions will be reviewed and reversed where possible," Victoria announced. "Companies that were unfairly targeted will be offered compensation and support to rebuild." She turned to Marcus. "Including Thompson Construction, which will be fully funded to resume operations under your leadership." Marcus felt his knees nearly buckle. "Victoria, I don't know what to say. Say you'll give me another chance. Say you'll believe that everything I've done has been to protect the people I care about." 3 months later, Marcus stood in his rebuilt office at Thompson Construction, looking out at the crew preparing for their latest project. Victoria's promise had been kept. Not only was his company restored, but it was thriving under a partnership with Sterling Industries. But more importantly, Victoria had kept her promise to Emma. "Daddy, is Victoria coming to dinner tonight?" Emma asked, bounding into his office after school. "She is, sweetheart. She's bringing ingredients to make your favorite pasta." Emma grinned. "I have something special to show her." That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Emma pulled out a drawing she'd made at school. "It's for you," she said, handing it to Victoria. "It's our family." The drawing showed 3 figures holding hands, a man labeled Daddy, a little girl labeled Emma, and a woman labeled Victoria. Above them was a smaller figure with wings labeled James. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "Emma, this is beautiful. I put James in the picture because he's part of our family too, even though he's in heaven. Mrs. Johnson says that people we love never really leave us. Victoria looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. Emma, Victoria said softly, would you like James to be your big brother? Emma's eyes widened. Really? Really? And would you like me to be your mom? Emma launched herself into Victoria's arms. Yes. I've been wishing for that every night. Over Emma's head, Victoria looked at Marcus. That is, if your daddy is okay with it. Marcus stood up and knelt beside them. Victoria Sterling, I've been wanting to ask you something for weeks. He pulled out a small box. I know we've been through a lot and I know our relationship started in the most unusual way. But I also know that I love you and I love the way you love Emma. Victoria gasped as he opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring. Will you marry me? Will you be Emma's mom and my wife? Yes, Victoria whispered, tears streaming down her face. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Emma clapped her hands. We're going to be a real family. As Marcus slipped the ring onto Victoria's finger, he reflected on how dramatically his life had changed. A year ago, he'd been a struggling single father with no hope for the future. Now he was engaged to the love of his life, his business was thriving, and Emma had the mother she'd always wanted. I have something to tell you both, Victoria said, wiping her tears. I've been working with a lawyer to set up a foundation in James's name. It's going to help single parents who are struggling just like we were. That's wonderful, Marcus said. James would be proud. I hope so. I want to turn our pain into something positive, something that helps other families stay together. Emma looked up at them. Are we going to help other kids who don't have moms or dads? We are, Victoria said. We're going to make sure that every child has someone who loves them as much as we love you. As they embraced, Marcus felt a sense of completion he'd never experienced before. His family was whole not in spite of their struggles but because of them. They'd each brought their own scars and fears to the relationship, but together they'd created something beautiful. The wedding was small but perfect, held in the same garden where Emma performed her sunflower solo. Victoria wore a simple white dress, and Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, proudly carrying both rings down the aisle. Marcus's construction company had grown into one of the most respected firms in the state, known for its ethical practices and employee-focused policies. Victoria had successfully restructured Sterling Industries, transforming it from a corporate predator into a company that specialized in helping small businesses grow. The James Thompson Foundation, named for both James and Thompson Construction, had helped over 200 single-parent families, providing everything from job training to childcare assistance. But the most significant change was in their hearts. Marcus no longer woke up worried about providing for Emma. Victoria no longer felt the crushing loneliness that had defined her life after James's death. And Emma had become the confident, joyful child she was always meant to be. On a quiet Sunday evening as they sat on their porch watching Emma play in the yard, Victoria took Marcus's hand. Do you ever think about that night at Murphy's bar? She asked. Every day, Marcus replied. Do you ever regret going there? Victoria smiled. Never. It was the night I got my life back. We both did. Emma ran up to them, breathless from playing. Daddy, Victoria, I have an idea. What's that, sweetheart? Victoria asked. I think we should go back to Murphy's bar and tell Tom our story. He might want to help other people find their families too. Marcus and Victoria exchanged a look. Even at 9, Emma had a wisdom that amazed them. That's a wonderful idea, Victoria said. We could start a support group for single parents. Murphy's bar, where families begin, Marcus said with a laugh. I like it. As the sun set over their perfect little life, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them together. It had started with loss, his job, her son, their faith in the future. But it had led to something neither of them had dared to hope for. A love that was deeper than passion, a family that was stronger than blood, and a future that was brighter than any dream. Sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with the most painful chapters. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones who need saving themselves. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we find that love isn't just about getting what we want. It's about becoming who we're meant to be. The single dad who met a lonely CEO at a bar had become a successful businessman, a devoted husband, and a man who knew his worth. The lonely CEO who returned the next night had become a loving mother, a faithful wife, and a woman who remembered what truly mattered. And Emma, the little girl who had saved them both just by being herself, had become the center of a family that would never take love for granted again. In the end, they all got exactly what they needed, each other.